SBR Boxing. We are back. Myself, my compadre, my friend Paul Kelly. We are here in preview mode. Bit of an intriguing fight this week, but I think it's world title action, Paul, so we have to show it the respect it deserves. We're WBO World Super Lightweight. We're in Miami Beach. We are talking Teofimo Lopez versus Steve Claggett. I nearly said Steve Claridge, but the ex-former player hasn't come out of retirement to start boxing. Paul, obviously, thank you very much for joining me as always. As you said, we don't need to necessarily. We don't like to do a tail of the tape, obviously, because we think we've got Teo Lopez. People know a lot about Teo Lopez, but Claridge / Claggett, I suppose people may know less about. 38-7-2 record with 26 KOs, 1 KO loss on the record. But we're going to start, obviously, Paul. We're going to talk about Teo Lopez. I'm going to come to you with some of these sort of challenging questions. We like to do here, and I'm going to throw some names at you, Paul, actually, and talk to you about Teo Lopez here. A guy who obviously his last time out was against Jermaine Ortiz, fairly, again, I suppose underwhelming kind of performance there, really, and a UD victory there. But I'm going to put him in with some other guys in and around that sort of division and ask you how you think he gets on, Paul. I'm talking the likes of DEVIN, HANEY, Paul. I'm talking the likes of Matthias. I'm talking Cruz. I'm talking GARCIA, obviously recently arrested. I'm talking CATTERALL as well. How do you think Teo Lopez does against these guys, Paul? How do you think he fares? Obviously, we've seen him beat Josh Taylor fairly convincingly, but against these other guys, how do you think he gets on at this stage of his career, Paul? Before we talk about the fight he's got against Claridge.
Yeah, thanks, mate, for having me on. This is, as you mentioned, a really, really odd fight, but Teofimo Lopez, he's a big name, beating Lomachenko. Only defeat, obviously, he was kind of a shock defeat now to Kambosos a few years back, and since then, yeah, he's had a lot of problems outside of the ring. Was underdog against Josh Taylor, looked brilliant. See when the chips are down, Teofimo Lopez seems to pull it out of the bag and seems to perform. When you're expecting him to win in routine fashion, he seems to make very hard work of it. So you never know. We might be sitting here talking about Teofimo Lopez losing to Steve Claggett. Honestly, who knows? Though just a track record against fighters that you really expect him to beat. You mentioned Jamie Ortiz last time out. That was a close fight, unfortunately, for Lopez. But yeah, those names you mentioned, I'm going to take the best version of Teofimo Lopez, and just for argument's sake, say that we've got the best version of him against those guys. Ryan Garcia, will we ever even see him fight at 140 pounds again? Will we ever see him fight again? Is he banned? Is he not? Don't know. Is he arrested? Honestly, who knows? If it was ever to happen, that fight, I would probably back Ryan Garcia now, to be honest, just with sheer size. If that was to ever happen at 140, but I just don't see Ryan Garcia ever fighting at 140 pounds again. I'll back Teofimo Lopez to beat Isaac Cruz. Suppose the Jack Catterall one, it's really weird because they've obviously both beaten Josh Taylor, but I would back Lopez to beat Jack Catterall. I think stylistically, Jack Catterall was just one of those fighters. He was just wrong for Josh Taylor for some reason or another. But I think Teofimo Lopez beats Jack Catterall. Subriel Matthias is the bogeyman of the division. Really difficult back against Matthias. Massive puncher as well. Still need to see a little bit more of him. I think maybe not a household name as the other champions, but a real problem. It's a fight I'd love to see. I'm going Teo Lopez if that fight was to happen tomorrow. But yeah, and then DEVIN, HANEY. You asked me this before the Ryan Garcia defeat, and I tell you DEVIN, HANEY wins almost every round. But I'm not so sure now after that Ryan Garcia one. Teofimo Lopez drag him into his fight and just drop him a few times and get to him. Honestly, he could. It's a real 50-50 for me. I'm going to be a pain in the arse, mate, and sit in the fence. Which I suppose would maybe give me a pain in the arse. I don't know about that one. But yeah, all fights I'd love to see. What about you?
No, I totally agree. I think you've got the nickname at ESPR, Machine Draw Kelly, and that is what's going on now. I think we're going with the draw there, but I think I actually agree. I think Catterall. I totally agree with what you're saying, Jack Catterall. I think he's just got Taylor's number somehow. Don't actually rate Jack Catterall that highly, but he seems to just have the style that Taylor can't deal with. So I think Lopez would beat Jack Catterall fairly convincingly. Cruz, I'd have him beating Cruz as well. Matthias, I'd edge Lopez, but that's a tough fight. That's a close fight, to be honest with you. Garcia, for me, I know what you're saying about Garcia, actually. That also is a tough one. They've both got problems. That's the thing. It'd almost be like a kind of who would be best who would arrive in the best shape in the night, but I couldn't necessarily back against Garcia with what we've seen recently. I'd probably lean maybe Ryan Garcia as well, actually, Paul. I'll raise my eyebrows when you said that, but having thought about it, and then I actually probably lean towards him as well. DEVIN, HANEY is again that's a close 12-round fight for me. That could really go either. I think it's a 7-5 fight either way. I really do. I could see, like, you look at it on paper and go, okay, Haney maybe outbox him, stay out of trouble, win on points. But then we've seen Haney clip before, and could Lopez do that too? Yes. So for me, I think that's a 7-5 either way. I'm not going to say a draw because that's your domain, but I'm going to say a 7-5 either way. But I don't know who's going to prevail on that one. But Paul, I suppose we've touched on it really, and we're talking about who's going to win out of these sort of names. I suppose really the question we could be nice to sort of solidify really is where you necessarily think we rank then Teo Lopez at £140. Do you have him sort of out and outright number one? Do you have, one of those other guys potentially as number one? You can even maybe throw in someone like Ramirez. I mean, Hitchens are probably a bit below that sort of quality as well. But where would you put Teofimo Lopez at £140? Paul, is he clear number one for you, or do you have someone else at number one?
Again, this isn't one where I'm not going to argue with anyone's opinions in this. I think he's the top three, definitely. Teofimo Lopez. You look at the body of work. Yes, he's underwhelmed a few times, but he also has beaten Josh Taylor, and he has also beaten Vasily Lomachenko. Obviously, that was down at 135, but he's a two-weight world champion. He's only got one defeat in his resume, and that one defeat, let's be honest, I would back Teo Lopez to beat George Kambosos if they would ever fight again. So yeah, I mean, I've got him top three. I'm reluctant to put him at number one just because of those poor performances do kind of ring true and kind of are in my mind. But I've got him top three. I've got him up there with. Are you ranking Ryan Garcia in this division because he did beat Devin Haney, who most people had as the number one before that? I don't know. I'm going to say he's top three, but I'm not even going to tell you who my other two are in the top three. If that makes any sense, you've got to give him his respect. He's the world champion with the WBO. He's got a few good names on his resume that he's beaten. He is one of the best super lightweights in the world, let's be honest. Just whether or not you have him at number one or not, it remains to be seen. But I've got him top three. How about yourself?
Yeah, I think definitely top. That's totally agree with you. Definitely top three. I think you've got Haney, obviously you've got Garcia kicking around there as well. If I had a gun to my head, I'd probably say no, I don't have a gun to my head, so I can't give an answer. I was going to say I would have Lopez at one, but then, like you say, in the back of your mind, there's just that nagging doubt. There's like that, there's the sort of X factor of Ryan Garcia. There's whether Haney kind of keep him at range and outpoint him. So for me, it's really very close between those guys. Those guys, are the top three. And I'd just like to see them fight each other, to be honest with you. And any sort of given day, I think any given man can prevail. I really think it's that close with how things are at the moment. Like we said, Lopez and Garcia seem to have more problems outside the ring. So maybe we'll see how in a couple of years how they sort of attrition or develop. Paul, we're coming to predictions on this fight with Steve Claggett. I mean, there's not too much to say about Steve. I mean, I suppose most people remember him at Portsmouth with his, his shin pads down. Sorry, that was Steve Claridge again. A bit carried away there. But I think this fight, Paul, Steve Claggett versus Teofimo Lopez, I'm not sure that maybe the respect that some people, especially in Canada, might think it deserves. But Claggett, 26 KOs in 38 fights. Hasn't really fought anyone who's a big name. Do you see the chance of an upset here, Paul, or do you see Teofimo Lopez maybe labour into a points win here, Paul? Or do you see him absolutely sort of, slapping Claggett around, frankly, for a stoppage victory? How do you see this fight playing out, please?
Yeah, I think when you look at Steve Claggett, and he's lost 7 times. Yes, he's only lost one of those via stoppage, but his most notable defeat is to Chris Van Heerden. He backed Teofimo Lopez to smash through Chris Van Heerden, who smashed through Steve Claggett. And with all due respect, that's not how boxing works, but it's how boxing works in my mind for this fight because I think Teofimo Lopez is just levels above Steve Claggett. With all due respect, I think he's got a bit of a padded record. Yes, he's on a 9-fight win streak. Respect, he's earned himself a shot at the WBO world title in the rankings, but those ranking systems are sometimes a bit flawed in themselves. So yeah, I've got Teofimo Lopez winning this one. I've got him winning it via stoppage. Probably rounds 4 to 6. I'm going to go. If Teofimo Lopez is on it, he wins this fight via stoppage. What about you?
Yeah, I can't disagree with you. Say that, Paul. I think if he turns up even sort of 80% to Teofimo Lopez, I think he wins via stoppage. Like Claggett's never been in there with anyone like this. I think, to be honest, for me, it just depends on what Lopez wants to do. I think he could go rounds with him if he wants to go rounds with him. I think he could stop him if he wants to go stop him. But I think if he's looking for that, I also see a first half stoppage, frankly, in this fight. Real class differential. I can't see anything else other than Lopez winning it convincingly by a stoppage. But Paul, that's all we've got time for, sadly. Let us know, guys, in the comments whether you agree or disagree with us. Where you rank sort of Teofimo Lopez. Whether you think Claggett was, his best at Portsmouth or Weymouth, how you see the fight playing out. And obviously check out the channel. We've got other stuff. We also have reviews of the fights as well. We've interviews, fighters on the cards, big fight breakdowns, things of that nature. Thank you very much for checking out the channel here, and obviously like and subscribe as usual. Paul, thank you very much for joining me. I like to say every week, but thank you for joining me and sharing your erudite and insightful knowledge and understanding. And guys, as always, thank you very much for watching.
Cheers, mate, and cheers, guys, for watching.